Hey everyone, Internet PCS Book Nerd here. Today I want to talk about Free Food for Millionaires by Min Jin Lee. Min Jin Lee is more known for her other works Pachinko, which had been adapted by Apple TV and received its very deserved critical acclaim. The book itself had a weaker characters and plot around the end, but I think it had an ending and an overall good story. Free Food for Millionaires is her first novel, and just like Pachinko, it is a very long family melodrama with trigger warning for SA for example. The book opens up with dinner gathering at the Hans family, where we are introduced with the main character Cassie Han. Her father, Joseph, is the kind of man that keep on telling his past over and over again to ask for validation because he's gone through hardship. A victim of war that managed to migrate to America, he demanded respect from his family even if he need to be forceful in getting that respect, even though you're not entitled to respect. Meanwhile, Cassie, the oldest daughter, have always tried to do her best with everything demanded to her. She got excellent grades, works part-time, and even managed to graduate from Princeton. Joseph, with his own insecurities as the man of the house, he resents his child for being better than him, and Cassie, who's been starved from her own father's recognition, also turned to resent him. The two finally clash during the dinner. As her father, he deserved respect and obedience. This Confucian crab was bred in her bones, but this ritual where he cut her down to size had happened so many times before, and always it was the same. He hit her and she let him. The fight escalated, and as a result of this, Cassie was cut off from the family by his father. But thankfully she met Ella, another second-generation Korean immigrant that offers her kindness, a place to sleep, and even an opportunity to work at a broker company. The book follows Cassie's life as she moves from one place to another and the people that surrounds her. The book is definitely not for everybody. It can be very slow and it's also very melodramatic. I think if people don't like this, it's very understandable. There are barely anything exciting that happens in the book because it's more of a character-driven story. And there are a lot of great characters in this very thick book. We have Joseph, who I have mentioned, and also Leah, Cassie's mother, a traditional obedient wife who just wanted a family that got along, but because of her meekness, she can also be too passive for her own good. Ella, who is considered the kindest person in the book, is similar to Leah. Ted, Ella's about to be husband, who have managed to climb the corporate ladder quite successfully. He is also the kind of guy who is obsessed with having to be confident. And there are a ton more characters, and while not all of them are that well written, but at least most of them are interesting. Most importantly though is the main character Cassie. Her character writing is very subtle and also very annoying. I get why people drop the book because they cannot stand her, but it's not because it is badly written, but because it is written like that on purpose. Even some of the kindest people in the book sometimes can't stand her most of the time. She's someone who wears her insecurities on her sleeve. It was arrogant, perhaps rash, for an immigrant girl from the borough to want to choose her own trade. Nevertheless, Cassie wasn't ready to relinquish her dream of having a fake for a secure profession. And she is caught between this wanting for a better life and not wanting to be like the people that seem to have achieved the life she wished to have. Of course, a lot of what she wanted was due to her own insecurities, because it is what drives her characters. She's just really able to not show it to other people. For example, in this one scene in the restaurant, she was in fact terribly hungry, but she pretended to be otherwise to be ladylike and had moved away from the table to be agreeable. And now, she continued to be hungry. Although it can be unbearable to read the book because Cassie's change is so slow in the book, but that annoyance is true to life. A lot of the story is about the different standards between generations, and not just based on when they were born, but also a lot of other socio-economic factors of the characters. But they were not presented as cartoonishly good or bad, just different. And different can cause friction. One of the scenes that showed this the best is on Tina's wedding with Jule, where both families gave gifts to each other but their value is so different. Tina smiled weakly, feeling so disappointed and hurt for her parents that she could hardly speak. Her mother had spent days going to shop and agonizing about whether or not the bags would be pleased. In a way, her mother had succeeded, because the gifts were beautiful. But she wished she could have prepared her parents for the fact that the bags wouldn't make a familiar effort. The bags were undoubtedly rationalizing that the Hans were Sangnum, trying to act better than they were by giving such expensive things. There was no way to win. Generosity was always suspect. Another major theme of the story is also about inexperience, not just in how someone should live, but also about how they should treat other people. A lot of this is what caused the melodrama and how messy the characters can get as they deal with their vices more than they have to deal with other people's vices. A lot of this is what caused the melodrama and how messy the characters can get as they deal with their own vices more than they have to deal with other people's vices. Casey as the main character, for example, can't seem to stop her spending spree, and the more stressed she is, often due to her own fault, the more she digs herself into credit card debt. Joel with his gambling problem and out-of-job problem, Leah not understanding that it is not her responsibility for the SA that happened to her, while the person who did it to her are so delusional and oblivious that he didn't even recognize the wrong he did. Every major character in the story will face a problem due to this inexperience. I do recognize that a lot of the problem the characters will face is due to a lack of communication or a lack of good communication. But I guess it is the cause for melodrama. And this is also why the storytelling can get as messy as some of the characters' life. Sometimes characters that should have more of a reaction feels absent when they're not, and it can take you away from the story because why are these people missing? And not only that, well, some part feels that something is missing from the story, there are also some that are not really necessary. And I think the author also tried to cram too many things inside the story. There are like 20 different difficulties that have to be faced by 20 different characters, and all these characters are somehow very connected to one another. It feels like watching a conspiracy board, and it really stretches your suspension of disbelief. There are definitely some really good parts about the book. I'm not saying that the book is so bad that it's a complete waste of your time reading it. Most of this issue also resolve itself by the end of the book, but I wouldn't say that it's a must read, especially with how big the book is. Maybe you get your hands on the book and you want to try reading it. If anything in the book makes you want to drop it, I think then go ahead and drop it. Also, Netflix is getting an adaptation of this book. Hopefully they'll fix some of the issue with the book, though I doubt it with the problem the writers are facing right now. That's about it.